Hey everybody, my name is Blake Edgeman, and I'm here with you in this module called Practical Production. I hope this is a practical guide for you to scaling your production needs as your church grows. I want to give you practical tools, as well as tips on how to think through various aspects of church production and media.
First, I want to apologize for that sound. It was annoying, wasn't it? I thought so. Before we go super practical, I want to demonstrate a couple of things about how crucial it is to be excellent in this area of production. Whether it's lights, video, sound, whatever it might be, it's crucial. So for example, a video, it could be live or online or whichever it is. Audio is arguably the most important piece of a video because if you think about it, you might be watching a video on YouTube and the video quality is a little bit off. You know, the lighting might be a little bit off. Something's a little off visually, but you can hear everything that's going on perfectly. You might be likely to stick with it and to watch it through, especially if it's interesting what you're hearing. But if the audio's bad, the video can be really good. But if it's annoying to your ears, if it's loud or weird or off frequencies, you know, you're probably going to fast forward. You're probably going to skip it, turn it off. Somebody's going to come in the room saying, turn it off. You know, it's really important we get these details right. Oh, wait. There we go. Let's see. How we doing there? Sorry about that. There, that's a little bit more in focus. It's really important that we stay focused as well. Focus in a visual is really, really important. It brings clarity, and I think most importantly, it brings a personal connection. You can hear somebody talking, but if you can see them speaking to you, connecting to you in a visual way right there, and it's really clear, that's the kind of thing that can take a message from the head to the heart. You're connecting with a person, and it feels a bit more like one-on-one. It really makes a difference. To broaden this point a little bit, it's important that we have clarity of vision, because if we don't have clarity of vision, we don't know where that we're going, and we're not going to be nearly as effective as we would be otherwise. Clarity helps us make the greatest impact possible. If we all know where we're going, if we all are looking in the same direction and we're seeing the same thing really clear, then we can all fight for the same thing in unison, and it's great. It's a great thing. Finally, before we move on, I hope you noticed that the lighting changed a little bit. Huh? See, now things are a lot clearer. Even with the camera focused and the audio better, that lighting adds 10 times more clarity and precision to what it is that we're shooting. All of this makes sense in many, many areas of production. I'm just using this because this is what I'm doing right now. So this is a great example for how clarity can make a huge difference. Excellence makes a huge difference. Details are so important, and it makes things so much more interesting when you can see the detail, when you can see the precision of what you're looking at, of what's being given to you. You can really focus on it. The details can be the deciding factor between somebody liking a message and loving a message, between liking a piece of art or loving a piece of art, between appreciating it and understanding it really well. Focus is great, but to know exactly what you're supposed to spotlight on, to know exactly what you're looking at will help 10 times over. Again, in a broader sense, focus is great, but to know exactly what you're supposed to focus on, to be able to prioritize the details of the focus. I could get the whole thing of this in focus, but I don't want you to pay attention to the whole thing. I want you to pay attention to me because I'm the one talking to you. So the lighting enhances, you can see the background, but it's not too bright. It's in the back. I'm in the front. I'm better lit than the back. And so now you can focus on the person speaking to you while also appreciating the full picture. Coffee break. So I've got my notes here. We're ready to have a quick chat. This module is about scaling production for the growth of your church. Scale is different than growth. Okay, I was listening to a podcast the other day, a leadership podcast by Craig Rochelle, and he was actually talking about this term, scaling. Scaling and growth are different. Growth is like if you were in a business, it's like the increase of revenue and resources at the same rate. So they're adding one every day. Today I have €1, tomorrow I have €2, the next day I have €3, next day I have €4. Well, what scale is scale increases exponentially. Today I have €1, tomorrow I have €2. The next day I have €4, and the next day I have €8, and the next day I have €16. And I'm not going to keep going because I'm not that great at math. I'm more of a musician. But you get the point. Scale is exponential. So I want us to think about scaling our production ministry with that kind of mentality, a mentality of exponential growth, exponential vision, looking down the road. We want a scaling mentality, not necessarily just a growth mentality when it comes to production and how we're leading our team and guiding our church and all of this. So whether you're a church plant who hasn't even started yet, or you're a church that's been going for 30 years or more, I believe that this module will help you to practically scale your production needs, your production ministry, to really fit and even enhance the growth of your church. I'll give you a few practical lists in a minute, but it's more important first that we go into this with a proper mentality. I want us to think in a way that will help us really grow this ministry. Above all else, when you're thinking about equipment, procedures, team, structure, any of that, this is the most important thing. It's very simple. Think long term. Think long term. Think down the road. Think way down the road. And work backwards. But Blake, my budget's really small. I don't think I can afford to think that far down. The things that we'll need 10 years from now, we can't really afford it now. Especially if your budget is small, this is even more important for you because you don't want to waste your money. You want to make the most out of every euro you spend on a piece of equipment, out of every minute you spend trying to design the right procedures and structure and strategy for your team, for your church, for your production ministry. Here are some questions that you could ask yourself. For instance, if you need a mic, will this mic be useful for one event, or can I use this for 50 events? I was at a church that used to hire a sound guy for every Christmas production, and it was about €800 that they would hire this guy, and they didn't have their wireless mics were kind of dying, and so I came in and I was starting to help out around, and I said, hey, what if we spent a lot of time training our sound guys to really be able to pull this off, and we use that €800 to give us a mic, just one mic. Instead of a whole sound guy to make that whole event amazing, we instead spent the money and bought a mic. Well, we're still using that mic today. That was years ago, and it's been far more beneficial. Even as great as that one moment would have been, we invested in our team, we grew our people to be able to handle the things that we wanted to do, which really spoke a lot to them about how much we believed in them. But it also gave us this really simple, practical thing, a wireless microphone that we use all the time. It's amazing. So that's an example of how you can think long term. If this will do me good for one event, I don't know. Do I really want to spend that money on that? If you need speakers, how long will these speakers last me? If I grow by 100 people in my church, will these speakers still cover that size? And if not, then are these the right speakers for me? Or if they won't cover that size in the future, is this a quick fix that can then be turned into a portable system to help other ministries or taken to another space in our church to be used in a different way? So we're not wasting money, we're not wasting resources, we're thinking down the road. If you need cameras, is this a live streaming camera? Is this great for, I got to go out and shoot a video about this event. Our kids are going to youth camp. I want to go make a video for them so they can see how much fun they had and they can have it for themselves. You got to have a camera that's live action, really quick, not too complicated with the settings. Or do I get a live streaming camera that's a lot more complicated, or a live, video camera for shooting in-house, really, really high definition, all that crazy stuff? Or do you get one that could do both? These are the questions that we're going to ask ourselves. I know it seems simple, but this is the kind of thinking that we need to have. We need to have that long-term mentality. So I want to give you 10 tips for having a mentality for scaling production. This is not all-encompassing. I'm sure you can think of more, but this is what I'm going to give you now, and see what you think about it. Scaling production ultimately, again, like I said, starts with the mentality that you're using, the mentality in your head. Number one, I want to encourage you, be patient. Don't rush into buying something or planning something. Take time. Have the important conversation with your team, with your leader, with the people who know as well as you kind of what's going on, where you're headed. Bounce ideas off of them. Don't rush into a decision. Don't rush to buy something just because you're excited. I've done that. I've been there. And sometimes you get lucky and it pays off, but a lot of times it doesn't, and it's a risk. So be patient and make sure you're making the right decision when you take that step. Number two, be analytical. Test scenarios in your head and in conversation. Run different ideas by different people and let the best option win. Test every option. Choose what's best for you with the leadership, your team, and your vision, and all your limitations, all of that in mind. Choose the thing that's best for you that will fit where you're headed. But really think about it. Really take time to analyze. Number three, I would encourage you to be solution-oriented. I've worked with a lot of people. Some people have this mentality where there's a problem for every solution. You don't want to have that. You do need to be analytical. You do need to be patient. And you do need to think it through. But at the same time, we need to start from a place of how can I make this work? How can I make this work? And if you get all the way to the end of the road and you're like, okay, I guess it's just not going to work. At least you tried. And then we exhausted this option. It doesn't work. We're going to go with a different one. Be solution-oriented. Think, how can I make this work? Not, what are all of the reasons this won't work? Number four, balance form over function. Number four, balance form over function. You've got form people, which are more creatives and that kind of type. They're not really thinking that much. They just think, this is cool, let's do it, let's try it. And you've got the other people who are really literal people that they really want to make sure it's going to be perfect and completely risk-free before they take a step. You've got both extremes, and you need both, but the where you want to be is right there in the middle of all that. Balance form over function. Number five, be in tune with your pastor's long-term vision. Now, this is really important, especially if you're leading the production team. If you don't know where things are headed, then you cannot support him or her, your pastor, as effectively. If you see where he or she is headed and they want to go, you can actually inspire and support them by finding innovative solutions for getting where they want to go. You can help them get where they want to go. But be careful not to pressure. Don't pressure them. Show them what could be, but don't spend your time trying to convince them of what should be. Don't cross that line. You want to stay in the zone of, hey, pastor, you said that you would like to reach 10,000 people. You know what? If we spend a little bit of money on Facebook advertising, we might actually have a reach of 10,000 people. Or, hey, pastor, you want to be able to fit 200 people in here. Well, I just want to bring this to you. If we get 200 people in here, the sound system we have is not going to be good. We might need to add a couple speakers or get a different speaker system. You may need a new mic. You want to give them options so that they can fulfill the vision that they have for the church. So you're laying options before them, trying to advise them on the best option that there is, while also understanding that they have to make the ultimate choice. So you're not going to get hung up and keep your fist closed around that idea and hang on to it for dear life. You're just going to set it out there, and if they take it, they take it, and if they don't, they don't. You're showing them what could be, not what should be. Number 6, under promise, over deliver. expectations can be really high for production teams. It's always the case that sound guys only get attention when something goes wrong. And it's probably the case for people running ProPresenter or lighting or anything else. The only time they ever get any comments is when something went wrong. And it's the worst feeling in the world. A little bit of feedback and then suddenly everyone behind you, you're looking at the back of everyone's head and suddenly they turn around to you and they're staring at you for the first time ever. And it's really rough. That's one of the downfalls of production ministry. But at the same time, we can set ourselves up for success, particularly when it comes to projects or things like that. I'm not telling you to be negative about yourself. I'm not telling you to downplay what you can do. But if you're unsure about what you can accomplish in a given amount of time, then you need to be honest about that. And you need to say, you know what? I might only get 2 videos done this week. You know what? We may not have the new projector and screen up by this Saturday. My volunteers are stretched. I just don't know. Be honest about it. Be realistic. Be protective of your team, but also protective of your pastor's vision, and hold both in a balance. But at the end of the day, work your hardest. Be excellent. Push yourself as much as you can and stay healthy. And you know what? You might actually get that stuff done early. And then it's great. And then there's celebration. But be honest up front. Under promise and over deliver. This leads us into number 7, which is fast, cheap, and good. Fast, cheap, and good. You can pick 2. That's it. This is the rule for production ministry, for videography, for anything creative like this. You can have it fast, you can have it cheap, or you can have it good. You can pick 2 of those, but you'll never have all 3. If you want it really good and really fast, it is not going to be cheap. If you want it really cheap and really good, it is not going to be fast. And if you want it really fast and really cheap, it's probably not going to be good. Tip number 8 is right tool, right job. See this light? This is a pretty cool light. It's pretty handy. I'm using it the completely wrong way. So it's not going to make any sense like this. You're going to wonder, is it Halloween? Is he telling a ghost story? What's happening right now? It doesn't make sense. See, now the blue light is in a better spot. And it actually makes, I wouldn't leave these like this, but I'm just giving you an example. That backlight is pretty interesting. I've just made my background a lot better, but I used it in the right way, right? So when you're getting stuff, when you're looking at stuff, you want to make sure you get the right kind of spotlights, the right kind of camera, the right kind of lens for what it is you're trying to do. I'm up here in the studio in Open Arms. I'm really blessed to have this space to use. When we first started, we were just recording in the main hall, and we had these cameras that had been bought well before COVID, and it was all about event videos, live videos down there. You had to be able to stand in the back of a crowd and get right up close on a team member, on a band member, on a speaker, whoever it might be, and you got to be really versatile and all that stuff. So amazing cameras, but a different kind of lens. So we tried to use those lenses a few times for our recording, and we just discovered they weren't making sense for what we were trying to do, because now we were able to get up close to the people worshiping or to the speaker, and we wanted to create a greater depth of field, and so we needed a different lens. So we got them, and it immediately upped our game by a lot because we started using the right tool for the right job. Tip number 9, and this is huge. Get it right at the source. I'm going to explain what that means. If I'm recording audio, like you can see behind me right now, that's my audio. That's my audio right there, right now. Now, if I've got a trashy mic and it's not in a great spot, and it's, it hums or it has a hiss or something like that, I'm not going to get great capture. I'm not going to capture my voice very well. And some people, you might be tempted to say, oh, well, you know what? I'll fix it in post-editing. That's not a good mentality, because the harder you have to work in post, the lower the quality of the overall product is going to be. When we get it great at the source right here, I don't have to work so hard editing in post-production. I don't have to polish it as much. I don't have to bend over backwards trying to get weird frequencies that should never have been in there. You know, we cut a lot of corners and we actually create a much more streamlined process for ourselves when we get it right at the source. So what I'm saying is invest more in preparation than in the back end of things. Invest more in really good mics, really good lights, really good cameras and lenses. And then you can edit on your iPhone and it will be amazing, which you can actually do a lot of the stuff on iPhones too, and it's still pretty good. There's a lot of ways to do that. But you get my point. My point is that the sharper you are on the front end, the less work you got to do on the back end, and you can spend more time on the back end creating and taking it up levels as opposed to trying to dig yourself out of a hole. Does that make sense? I hope so. Number 10, excellence. I've said it a few times through this. We want to be excellent, specifically with live sound and stuff like that. Excellence is about removing distractions. People, I've had a lot of kickback through the years, just various times when I'm talking about spending a lot of money on a sound system or on lighting or something like that. And what it always comes down to is we are trying to eliminate distractions. We're trying to eliminate these things that can take us away from the message being spoken. So here's a great example. When I'm equalizing a mic, I'm going to EQ this mic later with my voice. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to look at all the frequency range, and you know, the little thing in there shows me the spikes in frequencies, which I'll pay attention to that a little bit, but I'm really listening. And what my mentality is going to be is I don't want to see what I can add. I actually want to see what's messy that I can remove. I want to clean things up. I don't want to add a bunch of stuff. I want to clean things up. So then it's very clear. It's very simple, right? And so what that allows me to do is to remove any distracting frequencies, which makes it really clear, right? And you can take that idea to pretty much anywhere in the production world and think about it like that. We're removing distractions. You know, we want to, if a person comes up on a camera on a live stream and you're thinking, you know what, new people aren't going to know who they are. That's a distraction. It's a distraction for people to start thinking, who's this? I don't recognize them. I haven't seen them before. So they're distracted. And so all you need to do is add a little lower third that says, this is Blake Edgeman, you know, whatever role, you know, production team leader. Then suddenly you've removed a question from their mind. You've removed a distraction. And so they can proceed with listening to what the person is saying on camera. I want to close this segment with this. You must take risks. You must. No risk, no failure, which that's a lot of people's motivation to not take the risk. But no failure, no growth. That's the truth of it. What we want to do is we want to take risks, but we want to take calculated, managed risks. We want to manage our risk. And we want to learn from our failure, and then we can grow further. So you're not going to know everything. You're not going to figure everything out. You won't make the right decision every single time. You know, I've bought various pieces of equipment that failed. You know, I just didn't know. It wasn't what we needed. I even researched. I even had other people involved in the conversation, and it just didn't work. It just didn't work. But we took a risk. But that risk did open other doors, and it did provide other things. Take the risk. Don't be afraid to fail, but learn from that failure. Don't take stupid risks. Take risks that are calculated, knowing, you know what, if we fail, we'll learn, and then you can grow further. And I want to use this analogy from American football. I'm American, so I have to use this. But when they're playing football, if you've ever watched it, the two lines, they go, and then when the ball is snapped, the two lines smash into each other, right? They collide. If one of those linemen move and bump into another person before that ball is moved, that's called offsides in American football. So my coaches, when I used to play a little bit, long time ago, my coaches would always say, if you're going to go off sides, knock somebody down. If you're going to go off, go off. So the principle would be, if you're going to fail, at least fail taking an action. Don't fail sitting on your hands and doing nothing. Take an action. Give it a shot. Give it a try. You'll learn something and you'll grow from it for the next time. This last segment, I just want to close up with about finding resources. Now, it's important that as you work on your production teams, that you think about finding things that speak to you. Podcasts, YouTube, websites, whoever it might be. Find people who are doing what you're doing and follow them. When COVID hit, everything went crazy, and I started helping Open Arms record their worship. So I helped do the audio with it, and we went in and we recorded like 20-something songs, and it was crazy. And suddenly I had to remember I hadn't mixed or done anything like that in years, and I needed to do stuff that I had never tried to do before. I hit YouTube like a tornado. There's 2 or 3 people now that I'm subscribed to that have been huge help to me, because I just needed to figure out how to do something, how to do a little pitch correction, how to edit this, how to bump that. Whatever it is that you're working on, you can find somebody who's doing what you're doing, who has done what you're doing, who's better at it than you are. Find them, follow them, talk to them, connect with them, whatever you can do. Learn. And I just want to offer this. I am definitely willing to help you. So whoever you might be watching this video, if you want some help thinking through the right kind of sound system or live sound, live lighting, videography, audio recording, whatever it is you might be thinking of, sound treatment, acoustic treatment for a room that's giving you trouble, I'm not the master at any of these things, but I am definitely willing to help. There's a chance I might know more than you. I might be where you would like to be with what I'm doing here. And so, I just want to help however I can. And if I don't know an answer, I'll find somebody who does know the answer. So you can email me right here, blakeage@gmail.com. Hit me up with an email. Let me know who you are, how to contact you, what you're working on. And I'll be more than happy to help you think through something that's really specific to your needs. No matter what it's about, I'll be glad to try to help you with that. I've covered a lot of practical things equipment-wise, but I also want to address team. Teams are everything. You can have unbelievable equipment, but if you don't have the team to pull it off, it's really, you're not going to do much. You could have 30 cameras, but you got to have 30 cameramen, right? And the reality is the team is really what drives this thing. And ultimately, we're not trying to grow people so that we can put them to work for us. We're trying to put them to work and volunteer with us so that they can grow. That's our ultimate goal. It should be. We want to develop people. The number one thing for practical stuff, think long term. For people, which I think is far more important, develop people. We don't go find leaders, we build leaders. We don't go find workers or ministry leaders, we develop them. We cultivate an atmosphere where leaders can grow, where they can develop, where they can try things, take risks, go to that next level, push themselves beyond where they thought they could go. These are the environments that we want to create that will help us scale to where we want to be. As you're training and you're developing your team, you need to make sure that you are pushing them to a point to where it's risky for them and it's hard for them and it's a little scary. But you also want to make sure that they end up with a win most of the time. It's okay if they fail some. It's okay, because they need to also know that it's okay to fail. Then they'll be more encouraged to take a risk, and risks pay off a lot of times. So you want people to take those risks. To do that, you need to set them up to succeed, but be there when they fail to help pick them up, encourage them, dust them off, and get them right back in the saddle, right back doing what they have committed to do, so that they can grow from that failure. They can grow from that thing that maybe didn't go so well. It's okay. We keep moving forward. Develop people. Push them to their limits. And a lot of this means creating space in your organization for this. you need to really find a spot where you can put people who are on that edge. They're not quite ready, but they are ready. They need a space to be thrown into the deep end. I don't know what that is for you. That's something for you to decide and you to talk to your leadership about, depending on the position you're trying to fill or what you're trying to do. But my point is, you want to develop a culture where people are pushing forward, people are growing, because ultimately, if you're going to scale your production team, if you're going to keep up with the growth of your church, you've got to have people ready to go for that next level. You got to constantly be encouraging them to go forward. Another way to do that is to attend conferences, which now probably be over Zoom, I guess, for the near future. But connect them to resources. Join a Zoom group or join whatever you want to do. Connect with other churches near you who are doing stuff similar to you. Find out how they do stuff. Find out how they do their teams. Do team nights where you can connect, as long as it doesn't violate any COVID restrictions. But, intermingle with all these people, cross-pollination. You want to develop an atmosphere where people can learn from one another, because learners will grow 10 times, 100 times faster than non-learners. So you want that openness. You want that vulnerability. And really, that's the key there, vulnerability. You want your team to be a safe space where people can express their fears, but also face them. They feel confident enough in you, trustful enough in you as their leader to share this fear, but also they trust you enough that if you tell them, hey, you can do this, let's try it, that they'll take that step. Knowing that you're with them, they'll take that step. The last thing I want to say about developing your team is just the simple process of training people. And it really helps to grow people and develop people in a quicker and more efficient and a more effective way. They'll grow faster. It seems like it takes longer, but in the end, you're not dealing with people burnt out and underprepared. It's gonna work a lot better. It goes like this: I do, you watch. I do, and you help. You do, and I help. And you do, and I watch. So I'm gonna do something first. Let's say I'm on sound. I'm going to do it, and I'm going to have the new person I'm training just sit with me and watch me. Watch what I do. Watch the flow of my day. What time do I get there? What do I do first? What do I set up first? How do I wire things? How do I run a sound check? How do I manage things in the sound desk while I'm moving around? The next step is they're going to help. They start to pick that up. Okay, well, hey, can you go wire that stuff for me? Boom, they're helping you. And now they have a bit of responsibility. So that's going to develop a bit more of an addiction to help, because responsibility really, really builds motivation. So they're helping you now. They're a part of it. Hey, you know what? I need to go over here and do something. Can you man the sound desk for just a few minutes during sound check? Yeah, sure. And then at some point, you're going to go to the next phase where they do it and you help them. So the trainee is now doing, and the trainer is helping. Hey, you know what? I see we got everything set up. Why don't you run sound desk? Or why don't you run sound check? Why don't you lead through sound check? And so the trainer sits back. They're there. You're right there. If they need anything, you're right there to help them. But they're going to lead sound check. Then you can watch them go through it and let them go through it. Don't step in unless it's absolutely necessary, but let them try stuff. Let them go through it. And when they're done, if they've made mistakes, it's okay. Hey, you know what? The EQ is a little off on here. That's totally cool. Let me show you something really fast. And then you work on it and you develop them. And then finally, they're doing it and you're watching it. They're leading all of that. They're taking the full responsibility and you're just in the room. If they need anything, you're around. Now there's a fifth step that's also really crucial, and this is the part that makes it exponential. This is the part that makes it scalable. So you go through that whole process with somebody. I do, you watch. I do, you help. You do, I help. You do, I watch. Then the next step, fifth, they do it and somebody else watches them. They begin training somebody else. You want to develop people who can train other people. Not everybody's going to be awesome at this. So you're going to have to really decide who are your key trainers. That's fine. But you do need to develop this into your system to where you're not the only one training people. If you're the only one training people, you will only get as many people as you can train. If you've got 5 trainers, you will get 5 times more people potentially than you could train on your own. So you want to develop people in this kind of way. Have a culture of feedback. Have a culture that is okay with feedback, constructive feedback, not ridiculous, over-the-top details. My favorite way to do this kind of stuff is to do a lot of the little stuff in quick little pieces. Like after a service, we do a debrief, and we'll go through, hey, you know what? Let's try that. Oh, that didn't work quite so well. Let's do this. And it's quick feedback, boom, 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 it's done. And then, especially if you have multiple services, you get to go back and try it again. So even if they mess up something, they go back and immediately have a win. So they've got that chance to recover. And that's stuff that you don't have to follow up with later. And you can save the later follow-up stuff, the more deep conversations, for the bigger things. Like, hey, you know, I've noticed your attitude it just seems a bit rough. Is everything okay? Is everything okay at home? You know, is there anything that I can pray with you about or talk with you about? You know, you want to take that kind of approach. Feedback is good, and it starts with vulnerability in the leader. That means you have to take feedback as much as you give it, and then they will learn to take that too. It always has to be constructive. It always has to lead to something productive, and it always has to end up leading at some point to a win for them. And an easy way to do that is what I call the feedback sandwich. So you've got a compliment, because I guarantee you can find something they did good. Start there. Then drop in a little, hey, that was awesome. You know, that was really good. I really liked how you did that. You know, man, the way you moved that camera here, that was a really cool shot. Hey, you know what? I noticed that camera at that moment was a little out of focus. Do you think we could look at that next time? Okay, great. Thanks. You did a great job. Thanks for working so hard. I really appreciate everything you're doing. Boom. You're not bombarding them with feedback and criticism. You're putting the important stuff in when it needs to go in, but you're also celebrating the wins, celebrating the great things. These kind of things will help you scale your production team every bit as much as any kind of equipment or strategic thinking will. So there you have a lot of practical stuff, a good bit of personal stuff to work on. Both together will help you scale your production ministry with the growth of your church. So thanks for watching this. I hope it was interesting to you and helpful to you practically. And I also hope that it helped you think down the road, long term. You know, the way that we're going to scale things is by thinking ahead and building up things that will last us forever. And so, you know, I hope this helped you to get closer to that point. And if I can be of any help to you at all, shoot me an email. Hope you have a great day.